Hello everyone, we are back with picks and predictions from NFL. NFC side of things. Alright, now let's go ahead and get this started. First off, quick recap on the AFC. I have the Chargers, yes, the Los Angeles Chargers, surprising the entire AFC and going to the Super Bowl. The NFC, we're going to start, this video will be maybe a little quicker than the other one. We'll start with the NFC North. Chicago is your fourth place team in the NFC North. Well, I'm not going to redo these predictions, but I made these predictions before they got Khalil Mack, and I think he's worth a win or something. So right now I have the Bears going 2-14, and I have them as the worst team in the league. There's nothing that really stands out to me in regards to Chicago. I'm not sold on Trubisky. I mean, Jordan Howard's okay. Defense should be better now with Khalil Mack, but they play in a tough division. They got Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. That's 6 games right there. I'm just not high on them. That's what it is. I'm not high in Chicago whatsoever. Third place team, I have the Detroit Lions going 7-9. This team would be a wild card team if Minnesota or Green Bay wasn't as good as they are. The problem is Detroit, a quarter of their schedule is going to be spent playing these two teams, which sucks for them. The Detroit Lions are a very talented football team, but no one can ever take them seriously because all they do is go 7-9, 8-8, or 9-7 every single year. That's all they've been doing, what it seems like, for forever. So until they get over that hump, or last time they were any kind of talked about were when they were 9-4 2 years ago, or when they were 7-2. That may have been the same season. No, it was the season they had all those come from behind victories. They were 7-2 or something like that. So we'll see with Detroit. I mean, who knows? But 7-9, you got to make me a believer first. Your second place team in the NFC North and your 6th seed in the NFL playoffs, I have the Minnesota Vikings going 12-4. Yes, 6th seed, 12-4. That's how stacked the NFC is, folks. You're not going to see any 9-7 or 10-6 teams squeak into the playoffs here. We're talking the big boys. Minnesota should be a very good football team this year. Loaded on offense now, loaded on defense. This is a very solid team. A team that, if they were in the AFC, would easily be the second or third best team. And maybe even the first best team. But the NFC is just... It's crazy how much better the NFC is than the AFC. It's crazy. But Minnesota have going 12-4. Your first place team in the NFC North and your 1 seed in the playoffs. That's right, your 1 seed. I have the Green Bay Packers going 13-3. Listen, Aaron Rodgers makes that much of a difference. And if Green Bay can get their ass out of their heads on defense, this can be a scary team. Because Aaron Rodgers makes this team Super Bowl contenders every single year. So we'll see what happens with Green Bay this year. But, I mean, the reality of the situation is the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers are Super Bowl contenders. Without him, they're not really much. We go to the NFC South. Your 4th place team in the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, with a 5-11 record. I don't know what it is about the Panthers, but nothing speaks consistency to me about this team. They're 15-1 one season. They go 6-10 the next. They go 11-5 the season after. I mean, they're not consistent. And they've been doing this for the last 5-6 years. I remember they were 12-4, and then they're 7. I mean, make up your minds. Are you good or are you bad? You can never find an in the middle with this team. I have them going 5-11. A lot of that stems from a 1-5 division record, to be honest with you, because the Saints and Falcons are stacked. Next up, and that gave away my 3rd place team in the NFC South, but you could have probably guessed it already, the Tampa Bay Bucks. I have also going 5-11 in the NFC South. Jameis Winston is suspended. Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting for the first couple games. This team has the potential to be one of the worst in the league. So we'll see what happens with Tampa, but that's where I have them there. Forgive the noise in the background. My wife's in the other room. Second place team in the NFC South, I have the Atlanta Falcons going 12-4, 5 seed. Good team. Great team, actually. But can they get over New Orleans? I don't know if they can or they can't. All I have them is that I think they're a good ball club, 12-4 team, pretty close to playoff mainstays on a yearly basis. I remember back when they were 1 seed and then missed the playoffs, and then 1 seed and then missed the playoffs, and now they're pretty consistent. So I don't know if that's attributed to Dan Quinn or what, but the Atlanta Falcons are a good team and they'll be back this year. That offense is still an offense to be feared. Don't overlook it. Next up, your first place team in the NFC South and your 2 seed, I have the New Orleans Saints, 12-4. This team, stacked. Defense might need a little more work, but this offense should be very, very good. Very good. So we'll see what happens with the New Orleans Saints this year. But right now, I mean, with all of their additions, I have them going 12-4. Drew Brees, one of the best in the business. He's been doing it for years. And as long as he's still throwing the ball back there, the Saints are going to be title contenders now that they have a mediocre-ish defense. Your NFC East. This is a fun division. Your 4th place team in this division, I have the New York Giants. I have them going 7-9 as 4th place in the division. 7-9. The offense should be better. The defense is decent. But the NFC is too loaded. I think that's what the Giants' downfall here is. This could be a dark horse team if they can get their act together. But the problem is their division and the NFC. That's it. The Giants in the AFC are better than... the Giants in the NFC, I would say, are better than the Browns, the Bengals, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets. I think probably Denver. Maybe Baltimore. Maybe. Next up, I have the Washington Redskins as your 3rd place team in the NFC East. I have them going 8-8. This is a big question mark team to me because what's Alex Smith going to do? He's not too different from Kirk Cousins. Not terribly different. The only difference between those 2 quarterbacks is that Alex Smith is more battle-tested in the playoffs than Kirk Cousins is. Not sure if Washington made a mistake trading for him. I mean, Kirk Cousins is now a Viking, but Washington somehow believes Alex Smith should be the guy to get them to the next step. So we'll see what happens, but all I know is that the Washington Redskins, average team, average record, 8-8. Your 2nd place team in the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, I have going 9-7 for the 16th straight year in a row. Every year this team seems to go 9-7. Every single year. It's hilarious to me. And this team, it's just that's the case with any NFC team. If they can get rolling, they could be solid. Ezekiel Elliott will not have a 6-game suspension this year that we know of at least, so he should be a starter full time. Jury's out on Dak Prescott. I'm not sure if he's the guy. He had a very good rookie season, but regressed to the mean. That's what I think Deshaun Watson will do this year. Everyone was crowning Dak as, the Cowboys savior. And then last year, didn't really do too hot. So, Dallas I have missing the playoffs, but I still have them going 9-7. Now, your first place team in the NFC East and your 3 seed in the playoffs, I have the Philadelphia Eagles going 11-5. Losing Carson Wentz will hurt for a little bit. That sucks. I think Nick Foles will do okay, but I don't think that they'll beat Atlanta in week 1. But Philly should rebound, though, especially when they get Carson Wentz back, and they should win this division, go 11-5, and make the playoffs. This team is too deep not to. NFC West, we got the Arizona Cardinals tying the Bears with the worst record in football, 2-14. All they have is David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald. They got Patrick Peterson still. But, again, nothing stands out to me when I think about the 49ers other than David Johnson. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Cardinals, but prove me wrong. This is a team that was on top a couple of years ago, completely on top, and just has, in my mind, fallen off a bit of a cliff. However, and I will say this, there's one team out of all of these predictions that I'm doing here. If there's one team that could completely prove me wrong and have a much bigger win total difference than I could project, it's the Cardinals. Because if this team starts rolling the right way and healthy, they could be dangerous. They could be. I don't know if it'll happen now. Your third place team in the NFC West, I have the 49ers. I have them going 7-9. I am not sold on Jimmy Garoppolo yet. All of the stock being put into quarterbacks who have 6 starts under their belts. Remember what happened to Brock Osweiler? It didn't work out for the Texans. I mean, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they did that on the heels of their defense. The 49ers, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a lot better than Brock Osweiler. It's a stacked conference. You can only pick 6 teams in this conference to make the playoffs. You could make a case for every single team in this conference except maybe the Bears and probably the Buccaneers. You can make a case for every one of those teams except those 2 for probably making the playoffs. You could. Your second place team in the NFC West and barely missing the playoffs is the Seattle Seahawks. Listen, I don't think they're going to drop off a cliff like everyone thinks this team will. I think they're going to go 9-7. They'll barely miss the playoffs. They still have Russell Wilson throwing the ball. I don't care how bad your O-line is. I don't care how bad your receivers are or your running back is. You have a MVP caliber quarterback throwing the ball for you back there, and he's been running for his life back there for the better part of 2-3 years now. And Seattle still made the playoffs. Last year was the first year they missed the playoffs since freaking 2012. So Seattle will miss it again this year, but they're not going to drop off a cliff. Your first place team in the NFC West and your 4th seed in the playoffs is the Rams. I have them going 11-5 this year. Again, solid team. You can make a Super Bowl case for them, but they're young. They're not that experienced. I know they just got Aaron Donald the monster contract. They got a little experience in the playoffs last year, which is good for them. But will it be time to see more? We'll find out, but we'll see what happens. Now, your playoffs. Wild card games. Falcons at Rams. I have the Rams, speaking of the devil, learning from their mistakes last year and beating the Falcons in a playoff wild card rematch from last season. Before I continue further, let me just say, at least the NFC, as good as some of these teams are, there's a solid top 6 or 7, or 8, I should say. And that is the Packers, the Vikings, the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers, even though I have them doing poorly. You got to throw the Panthers in there after last year. The Eagles, the Rams, and the Seahawks. maybe Dallas. Any of those teams make the playoffs does not surprise me whatsoever. I think the Rams are going to win this game against Atlanta. It'll be close. Rams defense will be the difference. But this is where the building really starts for this Rams team, because you need playoff experience to do well, and knocking out a team that certainly has playoff experience will go a long way. Next up, you have the Vikings at the Eagles in a rematch from last year, and there's no revenge in this one. I have the Eagles taking the victory. The Vikings, all of these NFC games in the playoffs are going to be good games, I believe. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles with a healthy Carson Wentz will be able to better the Minnesota Vikings. Next up, we go to the divisional round. Eagles at Saints. This is where the Eagles' title defense comes to an end. I have the New Orleans Saints getting the victory here. Drew Brees and company at home in the Superdome. Very, very difficult team to beat. So Philadelphia, this is where the road ends for them. That leaves the last game of the NFC divisional playoffs as the Rams at the Packers. Give me the Packers in this one. The Rams aren't ready yet. You got Jared Goff going up against Aaron Rodgers. Rams, I just don't think are ready. They're good, but not ready. Packers should get the win here. I think they'll win semi-easily, but again, you can't count any of these teams out, especially in the playoffs. Last but not least, you have your conference championship games. I have the Saints traveling to Green Bay, where Green Bay's playoff woes continue to haunt them, as the Saints upset the Packers in Lambeau Field and get the win to move to Super Bowl 53. New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees. If you watched my last video, you said just wait till you see what team I have in the NFC playing, the Chargers. How does a Saints-Chargers Super Bowl sound to you? A Saints-Chargers Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers against Drew Brees. They used to back him up. That would just be fantastic, I think. And I felt, what better an opportunity for it to happen than this year? If there's any year that this were to happen, this is the year. Okay, maybe 2009 probably was a better option when both of these teams were 13-3. But this is the best year for this to happen, and I want it to happen. So I'm going with Saints, Chargers in the Super Bowl. I think in the Super Bowl, I'm going to go with the Saints. Chargers snake bite comes right back up and bites them. And the New Orleans Saints will win their second Super Bowl in the last 10 years. Those are my predictions on the NFC and my NFL predictions. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And Power Rankings will be released before Thursday's game. Have a good night, guys.